Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We got a good one for you going here today. WWE announced that none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be a part of the first episode of Smackdown on Fox. To me, honestly, Stone Cold Steve Austin popping up, saying that he's going to be a part of WWE, this is something that we looked forward to for a very, very long time. Stone Cold Steve Austin showed up at a WrestleMania here and there along the way, but I mean, to get him to do something on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown was honestly like pulling teeth. And from listening to the Stone Cold Steve Austin show over the years, Austin always wanted to be involved with something in wrestling, but he didn't want to just show up and just be a guy that was on the show. If he was going to be there, he wanted to be somebody who mattered. He wanted it to be something that was memorable, and didn't just want to be just that guy that was showing up looking to cash a check and just be there. To me, honestly, I'll tell you the truth. When I think of SmackDown, I don't think of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin to me, I think Monday Night Raw. I think of the highlights of the Attitude Era. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin going up against Vince McMahon and all of his cronies. Stone Cold wrestled some matches on SmackDown. In the early days of SmackDown, he was in a lot of main events that, at the time, really mattered, getting us to pay-per-views that would really mean something, having really big matches, and, being in really big angles. But the guy you think about is The Rock. And The Rock has been a guy that's been questioned. Is he going to show up on the first episode of SmackDown? We've always got the feeling that The Rock is going to be a part of the show, but there's part of me who thinks The Rock is going to be a part of the show as a surprise, either to kick off the show or to be a part of like the main event segment. But to me, it makes more sense if The Rock is sort of like a big surprise or somebody that you announce that's going to be there, because The Rock's a big star and you want people to watch Fox. So that way people will tune in. That sort of makes me think that that's something that you would not want to be a surprise. You want to be yelling from the mountaintops, make sure you turn on WWE on Fox at 8 p.m. because The Rock is going to be in the WWE ring. He doesn't have to wrestle a match. He could just deliver a promo. He could have a promo against somebody. I think that's somebody that we all want to see. The fact that WWE is announcing that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be there kind of makes me think that The Rock is not going to be there. Because if The Rock is going to be there, I think The Rock would really be announced. Stone Cold Steve Austin, this is like his fourth appearance on Monday Night Raw in probably a little bit longer than a month. But to me, honestly, like Raw Reunion was like 2 weeks ago. The Madison Square Garden show just happened. Stone Cold called in to WWE Raw on Skype a few weeks ago to be asked the question about a championship match that was going down. I'll give it to you. This is probably more like 2 months, maybe even 3 months. But it seems like Stone Cold Steve Austin for the last little bit, it's been on Monday Night Raw each and every week. And he hasn't really been doing a whole lot that's memorable. He kicked off the Madison Square Garden show. He came down at the end and drank some beers with the winners. But he really didn't do anything that was memorable. He just was there. And I don't really want that to be what Stone Cold Steve Austin's appearance is on Fox. In my last video, the video that was just honestly posted right before this video went up, I talked about the fact that, it would be awesome if Stone Cold Steve Austin came back to wrestling. Maybe not to say it like that, but if he came back to wrestle. One match, WrestleMania. Having a match against a guy like Brock Lesnar, having a match against Triple H. Those are matches that make sense. But more than anything else, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin makes the most sense. Some of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 17, maybe not WrestleMania 19, but definitely, those were 3 big WrestleManias. All considerably main evented by The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin won the first 2. Those were WWE Championship matches. And in just like a rivalry match, WrestleMania 19, The Rock finally defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin to make the lineup 2 matches to 1. In that match, that was Stone Cold Steve Austin's last match in WWE. Right after that, he quietly retired. Vince McMahon has said that basically he couldn't just let Stone Cold Steve Austin, retire. Vince was either had just put up WWE on, on Wall Street where people could buy stock, and you lose your biggest star in the company, it's gonna plummet. But if you just make it look like Stone Cold Steve Austin's taking a break after WrestleMania, and you push your other stars and things continue on like they've always been, and nobody really misses Stone Cold Steve Austin because you've got Triple H, you've got, you saw The Rock after that for a little bit making appearances. Goldberg came back the next night. So, you had stars in the company to continue on and keep it going to the point where it took a little bit for somebody to look around and be like, hey, when's Stone Cold Steve Austin going to wrestle again? We haven't seen him in a while. So I would love to see The Rock and Stone Cold in the ring, maybe reminiscing about the good old days. And at that time, honestly, one person says something and it just gets escalated. So next thing you know, these guys are going nose to nose. Maybe you don't just flat out just say, hey, WrestleMania, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, let's drink a beer, what? But it's something that could get people talking, get people buzzing. I don't think any of us are dumb enough to think that come back next week and you see The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin again. But down the road, closer to WrestleMania, January time, February time, get him in the ring again. Challenge is made, much like The Rock challenging Hollywood Hulk Hogan for WrestleMania 18. You're telling me, I'm telling you that goes down. You're not tuning in? I think I would. That's probably the best case scenario for WWE right now. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania. What's going to beat that?